Do you consider Libra a cryptocurrency? Like, is it in the same family as all the other ones, or is it just such a different beast due to its nature?
It's a loaded question. And I guess the cop-out answer is to be determined, right? What Facebook launched today was a white paper that explained some of the actual underpinnings for how this network could work, what some of the design goals were. But they certainly have decentralized the consortium of interested parties that will participate in this network initially. They've expressed interest in adding to that 27-member group, getting it up to 100. And then they've got a 5-year plan for how this could be truly decentralized and permissionless versus the current permissioned alternative, which essentially allows them to exert some degree of control over the network initially.
What is Facebook doing that others have tried and failed to do? And how is Facebook going to make that successful?
Well, I mean, for starters, you can look at what this Libra project is as the creation of a digital asset first central bank. I mean, the nation of Facebook, if you will, is 2.7 billion people. And we've never seen a company with that type of reach and that type of influence. Money's been a natural extension, logical extension ever since David Marcus had joined from PayPal. So I think just their sheer reach and ability to coordinate as many parties as you saw from this announcement is unrivaled. And I think that this is the biggest development for the industry since the launch of Ethereum 4 years ago.
So when you talk about the biggest development, you think this adds maybe a degree of legitimacy to it, or is this more about the transactional nature of what Facebook's trying to do and maybe making cryptocurrency move a little bit further away from being just speculative and more towards utilitarian?
I mean, I think this is massive across the board. So, one thing, there are kind of three things that I think we view this announcement as. One, Facebook has become a lead blocker of sorts for the rest of the industry. Their lobbying efforts, just their sheer size, this project in particular is going to have so much regulatory scrutiny that it does open up a little bit more leeway, I think, for other smaller and developing digital assets, including Bitcoin, by the way. The other thing that I think that this does, I think it's a gateway drug of sorts for folks that are looking to get into broader exposure to digital gold and other digital assets that might be a little bit more volatile, but the first impression that a user has, they just want it to work. They want it to feel a little bit more comfortable, and you don't want to feel like you're using a new technology. And then third, which is maybe the biggest thing, I'd look at this almost like an iTunes for fintech developers. So many engineers and developers that want to tinker around with these new technologies don't want to have to worry about the regulatory headache of handling user funds, registering in 50 states, dealing with the alphabet soup of regulators that actually touch finance. And this might be a path to at least onboard them into developments on digital asset technology.
I just gotta say, I'm impressed by your lack of cynicism, because when you said you think Facebook will do the blocking for regulation, my first thought is the opposite, where they could just as easily go to regulators and say, well, cryptocurrencies that aren't backed by the bank and aren't backed by a big company, that's really dangerous. You should just carve out a space for these ones with serious companies behind them.
Sure. So when I say that, the bet that I'm making is that global regulators are more scared of Facebook exerting more dominance over more aspects of the economy than they are decentralized, leaderless technologies like Bitcoin and Ethereum. So in that case, Bitcoin and Ethereum and other asset and cryptocurrency protocols essentially get to hide in plain sight for another leg up in growth, whereas we started to see more heat recently with regulators as Bitcoin started to rally back from 3,000 back over to 9,000.
Is it the right approach to be partnering with Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, even though down the line those could be actual competitors instead of partners?
Well, that's one of the reasons that I think that this is bigger potentially for cryptocurrencies not named Libra than it is for Facebook itself, because if done right, the impact that Facebook will have, the control that Facebook will have over this particular technology and asset should be minimal. It should be 1% if they actually follow through on what's been laid out in the white paper. So there are certainly derivative benefits that Facebook can capture by introducing a wallet that's more friendly and that they can upsell to their existing user base. But again, if they do follow through on the goals and decentralize this as is, it's much easier to imagine this being an on-ramp to other digital assets beyond Libra, and of course, including Libra as well.